I'm back working on Harry's car. Now, in the last episode, we finished about 8:30. We got the silver top in, we got the engine running, but we did run into a little bit of a problem. There is a bit of like a, I wouldn't call it knocking, but it's kind of like a thumping sound coming from the motor. So apparently the TDs don't have much clearance from the sump to the crank. So the crank is hopefully contacting the sump. So I think the first step is to get the sump off of this thing, get the oil out of it, and just have a look at the inside of the sump and see if we can see where it's actually hitting. Because if we can find where it's hitting, and then we can measure the thickness of that gasket and figure out if it's going to clear with putting that gasket on, I think that's the best step. But if we can't, then we're either just going to try that gasket or we'll use the other pan.
Proudly supported by Superior Engineering, iTech World, and in part by...
Right, so up under here is the sump, and the dent is right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's right there. And we noticed that it had it before and it had taken a hit up here, which I'll be able to show you guys when the pan's off, but it definitely has a big dent there. And then we've just used the silicone instead of a factory gasket, because when I welded the fitting on, it destroyed that factory gasket. So not only have we lost clearance on the sump itself, but we also have this dent here. It could just be literally just nicking this corner. So, but anyway, we'll be able to get this off and inspect the inside, make sure it is hitting, and go from there. See if we can save this one or if we have to steal the other one.
If we drop both pans, we've got 20 litres of oil we have to store somewhere.
We've only got the one bucket.
First step anyways is to drain the oil.
Using a running oil on an old motor is good because look how much black it still pulls out. That was literally brand new oil.
That's 10 minutes run time.
Black as. I'm going to whiz the sump bolts out, and then we're going to have to scrape all that gasket back off that motor, which is going to suck. Is that it? The oil pickup inside there. Actually get the oil pan out from under there. It's getting caught on the pickup. So I'm going to hook the engine crane up to the front of the car here, lift the car up off the diff, and that should give us just enough clearance to get that pan out. Yep. That's it. That's all we needed. Alright, this is the sump off, and yep, that is where it has been hitting right there, and the dent is right beside it. So
that's the noise.
That was shit. That's the noise. Found it. I feel like we should take that sump, but it's a lot of extra work when we could just try this one. But this one doesn't work, then we'd take that one, and that takes too long. This here is a chunk of the old gasket, so it's very similar in thickness to the one that we've got, but I think this one was a little bit thicker. If that was on the pan like that, I think it would space it enough for this to not be hitting, but we obviously then run the risk of having to do this job twice. You can also see this pan was damaged all along here, which is where it's been hit. There's even paint off this bit here, and then that's the main dent from underneath. So you can see it's kind of bent this whole pan up. Right, so we're ratting more parts off the old factory T. So we're going to be lifting this up in the air, we'll drain the oil out of it, take the sump off. You guys know the drill, clean that up, put the other gasket on, and then, actually no, we've got to weld the fitting on. Got to cut the other fitting off and weld that on. So what I'll do while you're doing this is I'll go cut the fitting off that, get that ready to then weld onto here.
Well, this one's in good condition, so it's better than messing around with some dented ass one.
Right, so because I can't cut that off at the welds because I'm not going to be able to get the grinder in there, I'm just going to cut it off as a straight barb and then weld it on to the other sump in a straight configuration instead of having that 90 degree on it. Right, we've got the factory turbo pan here. We've given it a good clean out. The oil that was in this thing was quite milky at the bottom, and kind of building up a little bit of a sludge puddle. So we've cleaned all that out, but now I'm going to take the barb and weld that to the side. So you got to go between the two bolts, otherwise if you put it there, you'll never get the bolt up. So right about there. Oh! Probably shouldn't be wearing pluggers right now. The other thing that's a good idea is not to drill a hole the perfect size of the barb, so it's kind of sitting face on it like that, and then you can fill the rest with weld. That way you get a nice clean weld to it. So another good trick to do is to have a nut and bolt, and you can actually sandwich this in like that. And that holds it nice and tight and bang on the center. It saves you holding it while you weld. So now I can weld right around that edge, and we know that the oil will flow out of that quite nicely. I do clean them up, Diesel just shits a lot.
I did see that comment.
He's like, watch out for the mountain of poo or something. Have a look. That's only taken Diesel about 4 days.
That's security. You step on one of them, you'll know it. So we put the 90-degree drain pipe on the pan. So the next step, put the gasket on it and then try and line everything up. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but we'll get it done.
So much easier with the gasket. If you guys are ever doing a oil pan at home, I definitely recommend using a gasket. It's so much easier than using sealant. Don't cheap out like we did. Alright, that's the oil pan all buttoned away. We've not gone super tight on the bolts because really they don't need it, and with a gasket you don't want to go too tight because it can push the gasket outside. Now the next thing is to just quickly fill it up with oil, then we are going to run it. We also do need to swap the thermostat from the other motor as well because this one's clapped, so we may as well leave that out for now. But yeah, we've got the Bogan funnel ready to go, Harry.
Fits like a glove.
So we'll get this thing all topped up with oil, and then it'll be the first start for the second time.
Get down. No. Just get down.
Let's just hurry up. I'm done. While we're at it, I'm going to be changing out these 2 old oil filters. We were kind of running that first lot of oil as a bit of a flush oil, and now that we've got the good Penrite stuff in, we're going to be swapping the filters out as well. I'm saying filters because on a TD42, if you didn't know, they run 2 filters. The first one's a main filter and the second one is a bypass filter. You guys know what that is there? See the hair coming out of it? That's part of your bloody kneecap. Anyway, we've got the oil in, got the filters in. I think it's time for the first start of the second time with the new pan. So all Harry's going to do is start it up, watch that oil light again, and then hopefully that turns off. I'm not going to crack any fittings this time. I think she's ready, Harry. I'm actually really nervous. Oh, it sounds so much better. Sounds like a TD42. Yee-hoo! Coming good now. It was just that, I think that had a bit of air in it. Yes, sounds so much better. Harry, the sound inspector. Honing into those noises. They're all gone. Look how smooth the tapper cover is though. Diesel, give a rev. Give a rev, Deez. No, there's no blow by. None at all. That's cold though. Got to be happy with that, Harrison. It's good, Thomas. I love TD42s. They sound so freaking good. Yee-hoo! Have a smile, Harry. Have a smile, brother. That's sick. That's so good. We just got it going. I'm stoked. I'm bloody stoked.
Oh, stoked.
Woo! Yeah. I think what we'll do now, Harry, get everything bolted back on, intercooler, all the pipe work. Then we can quickly adjust the fuel screw and go for a drive. So I might chuck you guys on a quick time lapse. We'll get everything squared away, intercooler, we'll put the thermostat back on, just quickly bowl it over. Then we get onto some tuning. I've only tuned one pump before, so my record is 1 and 1. It didn't blow up.
Sounds great.
Alright, good morning. It is now the next day, and last night we got everything pretty much squared away with this thing. So we put the top mount intercooler back on, all the turbo pipes back on, radiator is in, full of coolant, and all the pipe works are basically done. What we've got left to do is fit the bonnet up. We've got to put the bull bar on, fit the pyro gauge so we know what we're doing when it comes to tuning this thing. Then we can take it for a drive and start playing with that fuel pump and get this thing sounding and driving mint. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do while the bonnet is off is put the pyro gauge in. So I've got this Autoline exhaust temp gauge that we might be putting in. We just got this as a spare sort of for now, but if we can get this gauge working, that would be ideal. I don't know why it's not working, but it does have a SAS, boost and exhaust temp gauge, but we aren't getting any readings from the exhaust temp. So I'm going to quickly have a look at this, and then if we can't get that working, we'll use this gauge here and we'll have to mount that up somewhere else. So we at least got some exhaust gas temp so we can tune that pump. See, that's saying 47. That's not right though, 47. We haven't even started it. Right, well, that probe's definitely not reading. So what I might do first, this looks to be like the same probe, so I might just try and plug that in there and then we'll hit it with a lighter or something like that, heat that up and then see if it reads on the gauge. See if the gauge is a problem or if the probe is a problem. Well, it's reading 29 degrees, so let's get a heat gun or something. What does the TD42 run at? Max. Yeah. So I'm just going to heat this probe up and see if it reads it. 29. 30. I think the probe must just be stuffed in that other one. 55, 60, 70, 80. So pretty much what we'll have to do is just reroute this underneath the car through the engine bay, mount that into the dump pipe, and then we'll have EGT sorted. Right, that's the probe all fitted up and wired up. Go see if she works. Yeah, look.
Alright, so now that that's done, we're going to put everything back on it and go take it for its first drive. I'm very excited to see how she's going to perform, hopefully good. The old motor was only running like 10 PSI, so we're going to aim for about 17 roughly with this. It's only got the 10mm pump on it, but we'll give it everything she's got.
So some unfortunate news as well. Last night we had a bit of a break-in into the backyard. I think some Eshays come in, just bloody started laying some tags on some stuff and spray painting. Like, it's really disappointing, to see this. But
Can't believe they've done this.
Oh, there he is! There he is! Someone's graphed up the bonnet. The Clappa. Holy crap.
You see some guy just freaking run past?
Yeah, I seen him.
What the
little
hell?
air show. Must have jumped the fence. He quickly rode up the Clappa. Let's get this bonnet on, Harry.
Everything back together. Let's get this fuel pump sorted.
Do you trust me?
No.
Right, so with this fuel pump, it's only a 10mm pump, but we're going to be sending the fuel screw. There is an adjustment on it. It's the only adjustment, which is the fuel delivery valve. With that valve, the more we screw it in, the higher the idle is going to go. So what I'm actually going to do is back the idle spring off as well as I increase fuel. There's also timing adjustment, but I'm hoping that I can just leave that alone for now. If we have to, we will time it a little bit more. Yeah, we're going to turn it on and start playing with the fuel screw. As I'm coming up with the fuel, the idle will raise as well, and then I'll start chasing it back down. Now, I've kind of got the settings in my head from Cole, my old GQ Ute, which is basically maxing out the fuel screw, backing off the idle bolt until there's basically no idle bolt there, so the actuator actually just ends up on the top of the pump. And yeah, then once we take it for a drive, we're going to crank some boost into it. We'll end up around the 17 to 18 pound, and that's what was good on my car. So if we can get this on this car, I'm sure it'll be the same, but we're going to be monitoring EGTs and all that at the same time. Right, that's the fuel pump pretty much maxed out, so the next step's actually to take this thing for a drive for its maiden voyage and start cranking some boost into it to match that fuel.
Alright, Harry, we're finally driving this thing. It's been 5 days of gruesome work to get to this point, brother. It's driving very well so far, but obviously we've got the pump turned up, but we don't know what boost it's going to make. It was making 10 pound before, so hopefully we're just going to turn it up a little bit and we'll hit that sweet spot. But at the moment we're just cruising, making sure everything is working, and so far it is, luckily.
Yeah. Clutch feels good, everything feels dialed, just how it was before, so yeah.
So my machining worked. My Scotch pad machining. 14 PSI. I've seen 14.7.
That's more, that's 4 PSI probably from the fuel.
Yeah. It might be dialed. Might have to not change anything if it just hit 15.
Yeah. I'll do a third.
All you really got to do is hit a big hill somewhere and see what the pyros go to. We are also driving around a pretty busy area, so can't flog it too much. Yeah, it's a bit of smoke, a bit of black, which is good. Yeah. It actually seems like it's pretty dialed as it is. So because it was only making 10 pound before, we might just have more fuel in it than that 11mm was given.
Yeah.
So that's why it's making a bit more boost at the moment, because we just hit 15 on that second run. So good amount of black smoke. It's not like bore and blackout. EGTs are staying well under 200. I mean, obviously we're not loading it up, but... And that's fast enough.
That's 15.
That's fast enough.
Yeah.
Feels good, eh? Brother. Go on, go on.
15.2.
I mean, it's hard to tune properly without a boost comp pump, because as boost comes in, it should be adding fuel, but we can't get that. Do you want some more boost? You want a PSI or two? That made 15.7 then. Yeah, it's pretty good. Man, it actually feels like perfect where it is.
Yeah, it doesn't need it.
Yeah, I don't think we should add any more boost.
So we've just gotten back. The car went absolutely perfectly. Didn't end up playing with the boost because everything just seemed really happy, eh?
Yeah, she was at 15 PSI, that's all I need. I'm not chasing 200 horsepower over here.
Now, obviously, it probably will need a little bit more tuning. Like when you take it up a hill or something like that, you're going to have to really keep an eye on those temps. But from what we can see at the moment, it's just performing perfectly.
Yeah, it runs at about 15 PSI, and the EGT's got up to like 250 on a boot, so it seems good for street driving. All right, very happy that me and Tom have managed to put the TD in there. Big shout out to Tom with his awesome bloody mechanic skills, bro. Yeah, but that's all we're going to do today for it. But in the future videos, I'll be putting some wheels and a bull bar, just touching little things up that it needs. I need to go through all the brake pads and fix all the slides and stuff inside there. So
you definitely need to lift that tray up too, because that's...
Yeah, the tray needs to probably get a 2-inch lift on it, because they're only 33s as well. So when I get 35s, it's just going to completely jam the wheel up. That's another thing. Yeah, that's the Clappa. Round of a Clappa for her. Stoked to have it back on the road.
Right, so that is actually going to be it for today's episode. I'm glad that this thing is finally done so I can get my backyard back. And I'll be hopefully working on Ron Burgundy soon, but I do have some other things that need to get done in between that. So I'm not sure what the next episode will be. There will be obviously more on this thing as well. And we need to take it full driving now that it has this new motor, so we can test it out properly.
Probably get that winch working as well, because we're going to need that.
Yes, we will definitely need that. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys. The Clappa is back on the road, Bazzy.
Yeah, bye.
We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little series of getting this Clappa back on the road.
And if you guys are doing it yourself, hope you learnt something from us two spastics.
I don't think they learnt too much. All right, I'll see you guys in the next set. Goodbye.